Hey, here I am back with my character, and it's all tucked away in this nice little folder here, which is good. I've got them set as guides. I have them set as invisible right now, but we'll get into something about that in a second. Because I don't really do not want to delete everything, so I just keep them all kind of hidden. Now, if I were to make it invisible and make it visible again, everything pops up. So what I want to do is select all the things that are not hidden. Oops. I'll select all the layers that I want to be hidden in my workspace. And I'm going to hold Control, select these guys, right click Properties, and change it to 0 on opacity. Okay, so now should I have to hide and unhide things, everything doesn't pop back up. These pop back up, but only at 0 opacity, where my character will now pop up altogether. So it keeps things a little bit easier to manage, and I don't have to worry about deleting anything. I'm going to create 3 different layers for my environment here, and as an example, I'll use this other project here, and as I set it up, I'm going to add new layers, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to name them foreground, middle ground, and background. Now the foreground is going to be up in the front, so that'll be up towards the top. My middle ground and background are going to be towards the back, so I'm going to drag these guys back behind my character, not inside of my character, so be careful about that. I'm going to hide it right there. Okay, so make sure that they don't get dropped into your character folder. If they do, just Control Z and redrop them back where they should be. So I've got a foreground, middle ground, background. Now, if you're working on these, I would lock and hide other layers that you're not working on. That way you don't get them confused or accidentally draw art on the wrong layer. I'm going to use this as an example because I have my character walk cycle already set up here. It's locked down. And you need to start using your sketch as a reference for creating your environmental spaces. So my foreground, for instance, is a bunch of rubble. So I added this rubble. Notice how long I had to draw this out. And also anything outside of the stage doesn't matter. So all of this is drawn out pretty far out there, at least double the size of the stage itself. And what I want to do is have this animated so that it looks like it's moving and scrolling past my character. And the reason I did this one long is because it needs to move faster. Seems kind of weird, but in order for this to move quickly, I need to cover more ground. So let me show you how this works. I've got my foreground created here. I'm going to hide that. Here is my middle ground, which I've got partially created. And it's not quite as far or as long as my foreground. And then I also have my background, which is back here. And that is even shorter than the other two sections. Now, I'm only going to deal with one at a time. So I'm going to hide all these other things. And once I have this drawn on the first frame here, I'm going to right click in my timeline after that frame. And I'm going to choose, I'm going to unlock it first. I'm going to choose Create Motion Tween. And change my timeline here on that layer. And it's set right now where it should be for the first layer. If it asks you to adjust to a symbol, then just click OK. And then I'm going to go to the end here. And I'm going to move my foreground over this way. I'm holding Shift so it stays nice and steady and doesn't go up and down. So here's the motion path that I created for this. I just want it to go straight across. I do not need it to curve as it's animating, right? That would be bad. So it's just going to stay straight. And now that's as simple as that, creating that Simple movement. It's moving by. Looks good. And done, right? So that's my foreground. My middle ground, I'll go to my middle ground here. It's a little bit shorter. I'm going to hide my foreground now. And on the first frame here, I'm going to right click and go to create motion tween. I'm going to go to the end of this one, and I'm going to hold shift and shift it over this way. Now I've got extra animations already happening on mine. I really don't need to be concerned with that just yet. So now that moves across as well. And if I put them both together, I'll see how they're moving at different paces. And that's because the length of the environment that you created creates that effect when you animate it. On my background, hide the other layers. It's even shorter. And so I'm going to unlock that. Right click, create motion tween, hold shift, drag this across. Now I accidentally did it on the wrong frame here. So that moves by really quick. I don't need that to move by real quick. Your background should move the slowest. So we created it much shorter than your foreground. So if I take a look at that, Alt 3 together, you can see how there's that shifting that happens. That pace of each one is a little bit different. Your character should fit in nicely right in the middle. Occasionally, you might have to adjust the speed of your middle ground, perhaps, to make sure that it kind of better matches the feet and the movements of your character's walk cycle. And anything else, just getting the main parts of these grounds completed is the most important part. Extra animations that we add in, kind of nesting animations within animation, is going to come up later. It's going to be kind of the finishing touches for our project here. Now on this one, I also have a sky layer. This is something that's extra. And so I have a large rectangle in which I have applied a gradient to. And I want kind of a sunset kind of effect while my character is walking. So it's set here, and it's set here on the last frame. And so in between, I would just do a classic tween. And so as my character's walking, that gradation occurs and the sky changes color. So that's kind of a cool, smooth transition for a sky change. Easy to do. But that is the basic setup and how we're going to start working on our environment, the foreground, middle ground, background, get those animated and get them timed just right for your character's walk cycle. And we'll see you next time for when we get into extra animations that we throw into our scene here.